Well, they usually got some intro music. But we'll just pretend we're on air, I guess. Okay, welcome to the show. I'm your host, Ron Stevens. This is Rock the Boat right here on Revolution Radio, freedomslips.com. I'm your host for the next 2 hours, and it is the 4th of February, 2018. It's been kind of a strange morning here. A friend of mine died on the East Coast. So, kind of threw me off what I'm going to be talking about today. So we'll just have to see where we're going to go here. I also got a call this morning from a guy from the Thunder Bay area who's being like so many people in this country now, being harassed, intimidated, screwed over. And he may be on the show next week to discuss some of his experiences. And let me see what we can get open here and get this show on the road. It's been a very strange morning. And I'll be on top of that. We got dumped on big time last night. And we got a pile of snow. And it's still snowing. So, once the show is done, I guess I'm going to be shoveling for some considerable period of time now that it's getting warmer. So, the snow is getting heavier. So we'll just have to deal with that like we have to deal with everything else. Now, where will we go here? I think the one thing I want to talk about is people seem to be caught up in the politics. And when they're caught up in the politics, and remember, the politics is just a sleight of hand, keep you looking from where you should be looking. And people don't do enough research. People don't read enough. Now, here in Ontario, we have, this is like Looneyville, for sure. I mean, if you just go back 20 years and look at what we got now. In fact, if you were sleeping for 20 years, like Rip Van Winkle or whatever, and woke up to what's going on now, you'd be shaking your head going, what happened to the world? Well, the nutcases, and these people are nuts, they're psychopaths and sociopaths, are running the place, and we're allowing them to do so. And the question is, why are we allowing them to do so? You know, it's like a bunch of little children. We are. The general population has been reduced to an extremely childlike state. And they don't know how to act like men and women. It's like they're still in the early grades of school, where the authority, the teacher, tells you what you can and can't do. And you always have the hierarchy hanging over you, the fear of the principal. If you don't sit down and do what I tell you to do, I'm going to send you to the principal's office. At which point the entire class goes, not the principal's office. Like that's like the Red Queen in Alice in Wonderland. And that's what they've got us living in, is a fake fictional world. And we put up with this stuff. I don't understand it. I really don't understand it at all. You know, I saw some videos last night. Now, Rob Ford, not Rob, is it Rob Ford? Doug Ford, Rob's dead. Doug Ford, Rob's brother, is going to run for the leader of the provincial Conservatives, or for the leader of the Conservative Party coming into the provincial election. Now, the leader they had, Patrick Brown, apparently, I can't see where he even really did anything wrong. I mean, everybody has a voice box. But apparently it was something about some sexual improprieties, but nothing happened. So in this world, that is cause to have him removed from the leader of the party. Well, it's not much of a party if the party won't stand up for the leader, is it? Everybody's so running scared of this concern about offending someone. It's beyond ridiculous. Now, where I come from, if I offend you, sorry, right? But this is not cause to make an attempt to destroy my life or anybody else's life. Because you see, I can't tell what's going to offend you. I have no idea of what's going to offend you unless you present me with a booklet or something that gives a complete and total list of what I might say to you that might offend you. Then tough luck. And I don't have time to read your stupid booklet anyways. Where I come from, and I don't know how everybody got so far away from this. Where I come from, it's a simple fact. You say what you mean, and you mean what you say. If someone should be, oh my God, well, that offends me. Well, sorry. You got two legs? Walk away. Simple as that. But they've cranked up this nonsense to a point where it's become completely ludicrous. Black Lives Matter. Well, I'm sure they do. I'm sure they do. Where I sit, everybody's life matters. Well, yeah, but we're black, so our lives matter. Well, I get that. So what are you telling me? Well, you people are white. I am. Can't do nothing about it. You were born black, I was born white. Get along. Now, if I'm offending you because I'm white, then wouldn't it be equal if you offended me because you're black? Well, no, then that's racism. Really? So, Black Lives Matter, but I'm white, and that's a problem somehow. I can't do nothing about it. Like I said, I was born white. I could have been born turquoise for crying out loud. So Black Lives Matter, and if I say anything, then I'm a white supremacist based on nothing but fairy tales, and then you're going to come at me. Well, that don't work in my world, and it ought not to work in your world either. Doesn't matter what color you are. But none of this is the childlike stuff, okay? So all of these things that get cranked up, be it Occupy. I mean, how many people got involved in Occupy? And Occupy is a member of the World Federalists, which is Marxist. Most of the people that were attending these Occupy things are just a bunch of brainless fools that would attend most anything without ever asking a question of what's behind it. And it's the same thing with Black Lives Matter. It's the same thing with the indigenous movement. It's the same thing with the LGBTQ movement. You're all being used as useful idiots. Now, the sooner you realize that, the better. And if you can't realize it, then you are not only a threat to everybody else, you're a threat to your own kind. Because you're stupid. You're ignorant. You know, and they have that old saying, ignorance is bliss. Well, ignorance is about as far away from bliss as you can get. Ignorance is actually dangerous. Because ignorance leads you to places you wouldn't go if you had a brain. Ignorance is something you wouldn't possess if you did some research. Ignorance wouldn't exist for you if you asked some questions. But that's all too much work for the average idiot that's walking on this planet. And that needs to stop. You know, I actually tried for some period of time to get dragged in front of the Human Rights Tribunal. And I'm still hoping they'll drag me in front of the Human Rights Tribunal. People go, oh, you don't want to go there. Yeah, I do, actually. Well, no, see, running around in fear is I don't get that either. You know, that means you're still the child in the low-grade public school. Because you're always thinking about these authorities as the teacher, whether you realize it or not. It's ingrained in your brain really early in your life. So you'll get in trouble. I mean, I remember the look on students' faces way back in the early grades, in fact, all the way through school. You do as the teacher tells you to do, or you're going to end up at the principal's office. Ah! You know, Alice in Wonderland, off with their heads. But see, Alice, you got to separate yourself mentally. And I started doing that at a very young age because I was always asking questions. And nobody seemed to want to answer the questions, which was rather perplexing at the time. You're the teacher. I asked you a question, then you should either be able to answer it, or we should turn it into a class project to find the answer, but that never happened. So I've said this before, and I'll say it again. At a very early age, I thought, well, how can I see better? How can I see better? This is the problem with most people. They can't see. You see? They're rambling on about what's the store candy, if you will, looking in the front window of the store. Oh, I like this politician. I don't like this one. I like this football player, but I don't like this. You don't know any of these people. I like this actor, but not that one. I like this actress, but not that one. You don't know any of these people. You've never met them. You're looking like a bunch of stupid little children in the store window when the first color television set was put in display. So what I did was I thought to myself, how can I get a better view of things? So our theater, when I was a kid in Renfrew, Ontario, had a balcony in it. And I noticed when I was in the balcony, if I'm sitting down on the main part of the theater, all I can see is the screen and the tops of heads, and in a bad case, somebody taller than you sitting in front of you. I was always forced to squish down in my chair because I was quite tall, so that people could actually watch the screen instead of the back of my head. But that's about generally that's your view from the main place. So when I get up in the balcony, now I can look down and I can see all of the people and the screen. And I thought, well, what if I was at a play? Okay, all I'm seeing is the audience, and the audience is useless because the audience is just that, the audience. They're not participating in anything, and that's what the general public are. They're in the audience. They're not participating in anything. They're oohing and ahhing, laughing and sneering. And in this case, it's what they see in the media, all media, whether they're listening to the radio or watching TV or at a movie or at a theater. They're always in the audience. The people are always in the audience. They're not participating in anything, which is no different than the slaves of Rome who got to go to the Colosseum on the weekend. And if you study Roman law, then you'll understand the entertainment better, because nothing's changed. This is still Roman law. All roads lead to Rome. And just as they were as slaves that got to go and sit in the audience, you too sit in the audience. You don't participate. You remain ignorant by choice. The information's all out there, but you won't take the time to go read it. They write everything down. The script writers write everything down because it's a play. So when I was sitting up in the balcony, I thought, well, wait a minute. I can see this much more while I'm in the balcony, but I can't see everything. So then I switched from watching a movie to being at a live play where we have actors on the stage. Now, if I'm in the balcony, I can still see the audience oohing and on and sneering and cheering, and I can see the actors. But I still can't see what's going on. So mentally, I thought, well, what if I have a much higher balcony? So visualize this balcony that is extraordinarily high. And I'm the only one up in the balcony because nobody else is going to climb that high. And there I sit. And now, I can still see the performers. I can still see the audience. But now, I can see behind that. I can see the script writers. I can see the financiers of the play. I can see everything that has got anything to do with this play. And now you get to see the full picture of why the play is written, what the purpose of it is. Okay? And if you understand anything about entertainment or media in general, it is all there to deceive you. It is also there to put suggestions in your mind, suggest things to you. And if you look up suggest, you will find the word hypnotize. So you're being hypnotized into believing things that are completely false. And they need to hypnotize you to believe these things so they can continue to move their programs forward. And the whole program from the get-go has been about world domination. And in the case of the West, this is a spiritual psychological war because they can't bomb the West, and they just can't. There's no way you can play that in the media. It won't work. So now they've moved into a psychological and spiritual war. And they've made your spirit, your mind, and your spine extraordinarily weak. Not like your forefathers. You become like jellyfish. They do whatever they want with you. And they are. But people, they've used this psychology on people. They're so afraid now to speak their minds, running around with duct tape on their faces. I don't know how many times people say to me, it's, oh, you can't say that. Why? Well, because it might offend somebody. Pardon me? Or you might get in trouble. Excuse me? I'm not in grade 3. But most of the people are mentally in about grade 3. I mean, when you think about it, the media, the written media, is written no higher than a grade 8 level. That's the highest, and it's probably down now because I'm seeing typos all over the place when I read these online, and this is mainstream news. All kinds of garbage grammar, all kinds of friggin' typos. And it doesn't matter anymore. Now, if you go back and you read some books from the 1200s, 13, 14, 1500s, and you read some of these books, it'll blow your mind at the writing skill of these people. Doesn't exist today. Well, here's a note here from, who is it? Oh man, who needs TV? Nobody needs TV. Nobody needs TV. The worst thing you can have in your home is a TV. You might as well have a burglar in your house all the time because that's what they're doing. They're stealing your mind from you. I mean, it doesn't matter what it is. They basically use the same template. It always starts out quiet. When I first heard about cancer when I was a little kid, it was, you'd hear the older, your parents and their friends or whatever speaking that somebody got cancer. But it wasn't spoken like, oh, Jimmy's got cancer. It was very hush-hush. Very hush-hush. Spoken in whispers. And then eventually, cancer becomes a norm. Okay, but nobody seems to ask the question, well, wait a minute, if cancer was so rare, why is it so everywhere now? Well, because they normalized it. Okay? Control the food, control the people. Everything you put in your body right about now, unless you grow it yourself or know who's growing it and how they're growing it, is basically toxic. And everything you put in your body has an effect on your body. So they normalize cancer, and then they come out with all these doctor shows in the 60s and that. And they put the doctors and the hospital and the medical field up on a mantle. So all of these diseases that they were importing into your body became normal. Then stupid came along. They normalized stupid. I mean, I was so ticked off about that. I think I was in grade 7 or something. And I hated that show with a passion. Hogan's Heroes. That was just that to me. That was a real. Someone may know a show that was started sooner than that, but to me, this was the beginning of stupid, the normalization of stupid. And then we had Welcome Back, Kotter, and all of these shows where stupid was the star of the show. And it made stupid normal. Archie Bunker in that. I remember going to pick up my friends. That would be grade 7, yeah. And I go to my friend's house in the evening on a Friday night or whatever. Let's go do something. I was like, 12, 13. Let's go do something. And you go to their house, and the family's all around the TV watching Archie Bunker. And they're laughing, and I'm thinking, don't you get the stupid part of this? Come on, let's go do something. So people got plugged in big time. Then stupid got normalized. And later on, then they started putting the odd gay person into a movie or it goes way back to the black and white movies where you have people dressing in drag and whatnot. And that was pretty rare. And then it started to become normalized. And when they first started putting gay characters in TV shows and movies and that, they were always the silly one. They were always silly, not too bright and silly and goofy and whatnot, so that was acceptable. And then they just continued on, and it became more and more in your face, until it became normalized. None of this stuff is normal. When whatever, I don't know, is 2 out of 5 people getting cancer, is that normal? No. Is stupid normal? Well, it is now. But then it was Brzezinski said it would take 2.5, 3 generations to basically make you as stupid as was required so they could do with whatever they wanted. And this is who we've become. So easily manipulated through suggestion, which is hypnotism. Pick up any paper anywhere and you start reading it, or even on the media. Expert suggests, well, wait a minute, the expert's not saying anything. He's suggesting something. He's suggesting some bullshit, maybe some twisted data or whatever, making a suggestion, which is hypnotism, which he's telling you, well, the experts say that global warming is a real danger to humanity and the planet. They suggest that you stop driving private vehicles and use the light rail transit system. They suggest that you don't use any electricity. They suggest, and now you got all these idiots running around going, well, I'm green, and I got this new thing, and I cut my electricity bill. Or I don't cut my bill because every time I use less electricity, the bill goes up for some oddball reason. Why is that, you wonder? Well, because you're an idiot, that's why. This is what they've done to the population. So now, then they came along with your renewable energy. Okay? It's all the same template, always played the same way. Same template, fill it with different stuff. Now we got all this noise here about, oh, wow, look at what they're doing in Europe, all the renewable energy and the windmills. We're going to be left behind. Oh, my God. And now there's a race to see who can be the greenest or the stupidest. So they did that trip on you. They talked about Sweden and Denmark, these little wee countries. Oh, look what they're doing with renewable energy. Look what they're doing with wind. Oh my God, we're going to be left behind. You know, if we could be the leader in renewable energy. All the countries are saying that we could be the leader. Well, one, it's a fraud. It's always been a fraud. But we can sell anything to stupid people we want, basically. So now that got normalized, and people can't afford to turn a light on their house anymore. So they use the same template again. Now we went from renewable energy. The rhetoric has died down on renewable energy considerably because they got a lot of it in place, and they're on to the next scam. Well, the next scam is being sold the same way to the stupid people. And this scam is Islam. Just the latest. But see, this is all planned out, generationally take you down. The final empire. So, you know, the people on this side of the ocean are a little upset with this Islamic nonsense coming into their countries. It's this mass immigration. So, you know, anybody that did any research on renewable energy, say, knew it was all a fraud. But the stupid people over here, you say, well, this is a fraud. Oh, you hate the environment. Oh, you probably like coal plant. Oh, my God. The idiots. And now we're having the same thing with Islam. Same frickin' template. And it's being forked over here the same way as the wind turbines and the wind farms are being forked over here. That, you know, this is our duty, you know. Look how well they're doing in Sweden and Denmark and Germany and all these other places by letting these immigrants in. It's improved their society. They're bringing new job skills with the influx of these people to fill the jobs that you people can't fill because you didn't have any kids, because we told you through suggestion through the 60s, 70s, and 80s in particular that children cost $80 gazillion to raise from 0 to 18. And, you know, why don't you have a better life and use that money to buy a cottage or a boat or some stupid thing? Okay, so they suggested you didn't have kids. You didn't. You followed their suggestion. You were hypnotized by their constant propaganda, which is the suggestion. And now they're coming at you saying you need all these immigrants because it's your fault because you didn't have any kids. And now you're way below replacement value, so we got a big hole here that needs to be filled. They normalize everything. And now they're doing the very same thing with this Islamic nonsense. Now, of all the things that they've thrust upon us over the decades, this is the one that needs to be stopped. You know? And we need to get some real food back in our countries again. But this Islamic thing has to get stopped. Because it is the invasion that will bring about the final empire. And they've struggled with this for a long, long, long time. Now, they had to get rid of the Christian faith, which is basically decimated now. The churches, the so-called Christian churches, are actually paying or sponsoring Islam into the nation, into the country, because there isn't a preacher out there or a teacher or a politician that isn't on the side of evil at this point. Now, I've read a bunch of papers about the Cairo Declaration, and the funny part is, even when the United Nations, I think the League of Nations too, was formed, it was a huge contingency of Arab countries. And their idea of human rights is that the human rights can only be based on Sharia. Now you say, well, wait a minute. What about our rights? What about our inalienable rights from our Creator? Well, no, we got rid of all that. Okay, and we're getting rid of the American Constitution because those are the two things that have stood in their way all this time. They would have had their world government a long, long time ago if they could get rid of the Christian faith and the American Constitution. Now, George Bush Jr. called the American Constitution nothing but a damn piece of paper. Now, in the old days, that would have been enough to hang somebody. That was sacrilege. That was blasphemy. That was no good. But now it just bounces off of people, right? The idea is to water down your population, the original population, and remove the history in the schools so that the children who don't have a memory bank, I always look at the kids in school. I said this when I was in school, you know. It's like you go from class to class all day long. And I don't know if people, I don't know if they still even sell these things, but when I was a kid, everybody had one of these in their house, a foot pedal garbage can. So you step on the pedal, and then the lid opens up, and you throw your trash in, and you take your foot off, lid falls down. And that's how I looked at school when I was in school. You go from class to class, so you go to this class, the bell rings, you go to that class, you sit down, and the teacher puts his foot down, and collectively your lids all open up, he fills it full of trash, then the bell goes off, he takes his foot off, the lid goes down, and you trottle off to the next class, at which your lid goes up, fill it full of trash, and then they move you along. And that to me is the school system. And they use that school system to get us where they got us today, which is generally a ignorant mass of fools. And we got to get over that. So when they start watering down your original population, then the things that were important to the original population are not important to those newcomers who have no intention of integrating with the original population, their ideals, their thought processes, the religious values, any of that stuff. And over time, it withers. And then it can be made to disappear, which is exactly what they've done. I keep saying this. I left school and I left the church within a very short order of each other. And I didn't know at the time But when I left the church, it was basically the same reason I left the school. Dawned on me there's something very, very wrong going on here. Couldn't quite put my finger on it, but something very wrong was going on. There's been some kind of a sea change take place here that is visible, but being quite young, I can't get my finger on it. And it wasn't until much later, when I was doing some research, that I understood about the Vatican II, and I had read about the Martin Luther and the Reformation, and then it started getting quite interesting. But it was in the 60s, the early 60s, when UNESCO, under whatever his name was, Muller or whatever, that's when they infiltrated the churches. Now, I mean, they've been in control of the churches for a long time, but the Catholic and the Protestant were deadly separated for a long, long time. After the Reformation, Rome lost most of its pull and most of its power. But over time, they weakened those people who were the offspring of the Protestants. And then with the Vatican II, the new full-bore attack took place, where they started moving the environmental movement and that into the churches. The LGBTQ movement into the churches, the Islamic movement into the churches. So the church has played a huge role in where we are today. And for all intents and purposes, all churches, I don't care what church you are, they went to the Baptist churches in the Deep South first with this. You're at a Catholic church. Now, our forefathers, when they got here, they understood this stuff. And it's amazing they understood it because they didn't have the communications that we got today, but they understood it. But then they didn't get confused because the information wasn't, they didn't have the opposite propaganda coming at them all the time. They just figured it out. And when they got here, there was three things that were not welcome. Catholic, lawyers, and Jews. Because they understood. But over time, through suggestion, through media, through the education system, through the churches, people lose their way. They become weaker and weaker and weaker. But when I left the church, I just said, there's a big sea change going on here. And when I got those documents from UNESCO, it was amazing. It was like a 28-page document. And they actually had, the churches all had a green line, a 1-800 green line. That's what they called it. So if one of the parishioners in the church started asking questions, just like I would get shit for asking questions in school, and if someone was asking an intelligent question that the preacher couldn't answer, then they could phone UNESCO on a 1-800 line to try to figure out how they're going to operate with this parishioner that's asking some pretty hard questions. At that point, you're going to run him out of the church or her out of the church, or you're going to figure out some way to schmooze them so they back off with the questions. That's how this operates. You know, so when people are yammering on about politicians, you're just showing your ignorance. Okay? When you're yammering on about different politicians or different parties or that, you're just straight out saying, "Hi, I'm completely ignorant." That's what you're saying. And I don't mean to offend anyone, but that's what you're saying. I'm an ignorant fool. Because you're just standing looking at the storefront when the actual game is being played back in the back rooms, the rooms you can't see. But the beauty is they write everything down. They write all of their plans down. Everything they're doing, they write down. All you got to do is go read the script. And you know it's a script. Because when that H1N1 thing was going on, a big fear-mongering from the WHO, back whenever that was, 2010 or whenever the hell it was, and I got in my truck about 6 o'clock in the morning one morning, turned on the radio, just happened to be on CBC, the Communist Broadcasting Corporation of Canada, and the hype was just nuts. People were running around buying face masks like the stores were running out of them. They were sending body bags to the reserves because all these people were going to die from this H1N1 flu. It was just, and this SARS nonsense. They were just firing this stuff at people. And so somebody calls in to CBC and says, don't you think the media overhyped the threat? And every now and again, a little piece of truth pops out. And the guy from CBC says, don't look at us. We only go with the script that is handed us. And that's true. Now, I listened to that radio station all day waiting for a repeat of that. It didn't happen. And I noticed that with the Communist Broadcasting Corporation. If you listen to it really early in the morning, sometimes something will pop out that I guess is not supposed to pop out, and then you won't hear about it again. So I don't know if the early morning guys just aren't awake yet when somebody asks them a question or whatever, but every now and again a little piece of truth slips out. But for the most part, the general population is dumber than a box of rocks, and I don't mean that in any negative way. It's just the way it is. It's the truth. And the general population has to come to grips with the idea and the understanding that they're basically been weakened and manipulated to the point where they don't care. Well, you better care. Because if you don't care and you continue not to care, then your offspring have no future. So what you're saying is when you say, you know, you talk to somebody on the street about something, and they say, I don't care about that. Why not? Well, you know, I'll be dead and gone by the time that's ready. But what you're saying is you don't give a damn about your own family. You have no respect for your forefathers. You have no respect for your kids, your grandkids, or the kids they may have someday. You have absolutely no respect. So you have no respect for yourself. And that's sad. That's really sad. You wonder how it is you're getting run over all the time. Well, that about says it. Weak of the spirit, the mind, and the spine. And until we change that around, nothing good's going to happen. I mean, I really, really, really like that one meme or whatever they call those pictures that they put up on Facebook. And it's not new. It's old. Been around for a lot of years. And it says it all so plainly, so simply. You know, here's a bunch of bankers or whatever the hell they are, globalists, sitting at a table playing cards or game or whatever it is they're doing. You know, fancy suits, nice cigars, nice scotch. And then, I don't know what it is, 4 guys or something on their knees and that, holding up the table. With the caption, I think what the caption says is all you got to do is stand up. Stand up, the game's over. Which really, when I studied Alice in Wonderland, because everybody's saying they were going down, had all these truthers saying, oh, I went way down the rabbit hole. Well, wait a minute. You don't want to go down the rabbit hole. You were born into the rabbit hole. You want to get the hell out of the rabbit hole. Everything's upside down. But it was no difference. That mem would have just said, all you got to do is stand up. Reminded me of Spartacus. I loved that movie when I was a kid. I was always going to the movies with underdogs. When he's talking to his people and calling them slaves, doesn't that bother you? I mean, doesn't it bother you that you're a slave? And then the excuses start. And this is what makes me nuts even today. The excuse factory is out of hand. People have an excuse for everything. Everybody's bitching and complaining about what's going on in their nations. But as soon as you put it to them that they have a bit of a duty here, the excuses begin to fly. Of why they can't do this, they can't do that, can't do this, can't do that. So we're just a nation of bitching and complaining. When Spartacus is standing there and he's saying, hey, you're a slave. Well, we understand that. You do. Yep. Well, then we should do something about it. Well, they treat us pretty good, really. We're fed pretty good and we've got a place to live. And we're treated a lot better than those other slaves. Excuse. And we get to go to the Coliseum on the weekends for entertainment. Excuse. Always excuses. And you wonder how it is that we are where we are. Stand up. Simple as that. And really no violence needed. And for all you people out there who have a certificate of whatever hanging on your wall, and you're so proud of it, and remember, everything's upside down. That's not a certificate of intelligence. It's a certificate of stupidity or ignorance. Because what that certificate basically says is you made it all the way through school and through these university courses you took to get that certificate without ever asking an intelligent question. Is what that certificate signifies. And that's not being said to offend you. It's just the way it is. Because the school system, the education system is set up to create people who will do the work of the globalists to help implement their agendas, which makes you a certified, because you have your certificate on the wall, useful idiot. So, all of these things that you have hanging on your wall to signify you have this, you have that, you have proven that you are a useful idiot. That's unfortunate, but it's true. Absolutely true. So by the look of the clock here, I don't know what time we go into break. I can't remember if it's 56 or 58, but we're going to be going into break pretty soon. I'm a little heavy-hearted today because I got news this morning that actually a friend died. Don't know why or how. I got a call from his ex-wife this morning, and the phone's been ringing off the hook all morning. Not on that, but on other things. I had a gentleman call about coming on the show. I'd spoken to. He hadn't been on the show, I don't think. But he disagreed with me with some stuff. Now he agrees with me. And he would like to come on and discuss some of the garbage he's putting up with, which we'll probably try and do next week or maybe through the week. So it's been a little difficult this morning, being buried in the snow, getting word that someone I spent quite a bit of time with has passed away. And his ex-wife is more than a little upset. They're not sure what happened, whether he had a heart attack or what. He's 51 years old. So we'll have to see what happens. I have to make some phone calls after the show is over. So I'm going to take a break here shortly and go and have a well-deserved smoke. The public fool system, absolutely. Absolutely. The USA is a nation of bitchers and complainers and full of excuses. Absolutely. But see, we have a duty to turn this around. You know, they through suggestion turn these people into basically idiots. And we through suggestion can strengthen their spirit, mind, and spine. That's an absolute. I have deprogrammed a few people, and it's doable. And I did it just quietly talking to them, because it is psychology. It's a psychological war. It's a spiritual war, and it is World War III. But it's fun actually, because it's freaky but fun. When they get it, and I've said this before, but the first time it happened, it backed me up. Me and a young gentleman were having a discussion at a wind meeting where they had the Suzuki and the German experts and all that kind of bullshit, and I pulled him aside, and he was full bore into this, and we just talked quietly, and he was telling me what he knew, and I was explaining to him why that was wrong, and eventually his eyes got extremely bright. The switch went off, and he was dehypnotized. I don't know whatever happens to these people, because the people they're running with, their cult leaders, don't want anything to do with them after that. They just cast them aside because they can't hypnotize them again. It can't be done again. So, we have a duty. If we want our nations to survive and we want our offspring to survive, then we have a duty. And we have to get by the bitching and complaining nonsense. And we have to get to work. Now, it took them a long time to get us here. It's going to take us a while to straighten it out, but it's not going to take us anywhere near as long. You see, because they're amoral cretins who are sociopaths, psychopaths, and they try to do it incrementally so we don't notice what they're up to. But we, being moral men and women, don't have to go about it the same way. So we can reverse the damage done much quicker than it took them to do the damage. So I don't want to see anybody. I hate this when people say, oh, well, nothing we can do now. They got us now. Go stick your head where it belongs. I don't know, in the sand or somewhere, but shut up. I don't want any of this negativity. We ain't got time. We ain't got room for this negative nonsense. We have to make a decision. We're going to stand, we're going to lay down, and continue to be run over. That's all we need to know about it. Now I got 1 o'clock here, and I haven't heard any I don't know what they're doing over here today at Revolution. I haven't heard any in-out music or anything. So, being the top of the hour, I should have heard some out music by now for the break. But I am taking a break regardless. So I shall be back in about, as fast as I can have a smoke, which will be about 4 minutes or so. And we'll continue on. Now, I'm hoping if you have my phone number, you can get my phone number off of my blog or one of the blogs, which is CanadianTruths.wordpress.com. Or if you're on Skype, you can hook up with me on ron.stevens, Stephens, 7. That's ron.stevens, Stephens, 7. Hook up. If you have something you'd like to say or something you'd like to discuss, then get a hold of me. I don't know if you can get a hold of me through the phone numbers off of Revolution Radio or not, but you can go to Revolution Radio, freedomslips.com, and you can find the phone number on Studio B and try that. Maybe I'll get in that way or not. But if you got something on your mind, there's lots of ways to get a hold of me. So I'd like to hear from you. If not, we'll just continue to talk. But right now, I'm taking my break, and we shall be back shortly. Okay, welcome back to the show. I'm your host, Ron Stevens. This is Rock the Boat right here on Revolution Radio. And the reason that, well, before I do any of that stuff, Revolution Radio, like all the rest of these small networks, and Revolution Radio is one of the bigger networks, but they're all listener funded. You have to understand the people that are coming at us want the demise of your nation because that is the main goal, the end of nation states. So this is a war. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. It is a war. And all of these networks are listener funded. So they have, I mean, we're fighting against the World Bank, the IMF, all the gazillion organizations that are attached to the UN, all of the tax-exempt foundations. Now, we could have put a stop to this way long time ago when there was only a few tax-exempt foundations, but they have multiplied like a bad virus. And all these NGOs and that, they're all being funded. And these people have a bottomless pit of cash, and we don't. And so we're playing the role of the underdog. We're running on nickels and dimes. So I would ask everyone to, whatever network you're listening to, we're on Revolution Radio at the moment. Every one of these small networks has a donate button. Hit it. Every $5, every $10, every $20 adds up and is what is keeping these networks on the air. And most of them are running on shoestrings. And these are voices. This is a venue that we can't lose. And so I encourage everyone to hit the donate button and put a few dollars in. Very, very important that happens. Let's see, what do we got here? Oh, I have Andy on here. This is the gentleman. Okay, I got an accept button here. Now, he called me today. He's from up near Thunder Bay, Terrace, not British Columbia, but Terrace Bay or whatever it's called, up near Thunder Bay. And I'm wondering if maybe I should try and drag him in here so he can discuss a little bit of stuff, because I think we had a bit of an argument some time ago about common law. Now, I've been, we had all these common law people all over the internet. And I always get flack from everybody. It seems like I'm getting flack from both sides all the time. Eventually people get it. But this idea of common law, there's no common law, right? There's corporate law, that's it. But the thing is that every time, let me put it this way, there's no law, okay? Law came from our Creator. And according to the story, our Creator created man, gave him law and dominion. Pretty simple stuff. But some of these crafty people figured out, well, wait a minute, we'd like to run the world, but you only have authority over what you create. And they didn't create man, and they didn't create law. So they deceived you. And the good book says, take heed no man deceive you. Well, we've been deceived for like ever. So what they did was they know that they don't have any authority whatsoever over man. And they know they didn't create man. They know they didn't give us law. But how do they take our dominion away from us? Well, they're going to have to rebrand some stuff. So they took you from being a man with dominion over the birds, the fishes, the whatever, all the animals and that. And they rebranded you into the position of an animal, of which man has authority over, or dominion over. Because two words you won't find, at least in the KJV, are human and legal. Those two words don't exist. Man and law exist, but not human and legal. Legal is not law. Okay? And a human is not a man. A human, by definition, is something that evolved from a great ape. Well, if it evolved from a great ape, then the question is why they're apes. The whole evolutionary thing is a crock of nonsense, cooked up to take advantage through deception over man. And that's exactly what they've done. So when they put this nonsense in front of, well, we have common law. Well, common law obviously isn't law, because our Creator didn't give us common law. He gave us the Word. Follow the Word. That's the law. And the law is so simple, it hurts. Do no harm. Treat your neighbor as you wish to be treated. That's the law. Now, I had a conversation with a lawyer from the Attorney General's office in Ontario, and it took me a lot of work to get to one of these guys. And he agreed with me on law. That killed me. That really blew me away. And I have it recorded somewhere. Because when I first called him, I said, can we just, first of all, agree on what law is? Because that should be very quick to do. And he agreed on what law is. And then we went to legal, which is not law. Because law states do no harm. Legal causes harm. Legal takes your labor from you. It's a mechanism of theft. Not lawful theft, because theft is against the law. But in the legal system, they set it up so they can steal from you. That they have dominion over you. Chattel, cattle, slaves. And we have to break that. Now, then comes the intimidation and stuff, because they don't want the word out. It goes back to Mandel House, when they pledge you, basically. And the word back then was, well, even if 1 in a million figure this out, we still have plausible deniability. In other words, we can shout them down. They're conspiracy theorists, yada, 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 and the rest of the people will say, yeah, he's a nutcase. Now, can you get that, dear? Can you just grab that? Now, it's far more than 1 in a million that get it, and it's rising exponentially. It's rising quickly, and they're getting nervous. So they keep throwing chaos at us, trying to keep the people confused, but the people are starting to see.
No, he's doing a show.
And once you see, you can't not see. And once you know, you can't not know. And at that point, you can no longer be deceived. And that's what they're so concerned about. So they go out of their way to try and intimidate people, to put fear into them so they'll shut up, just like you're going to go to the principal's office if you keep asking me questions I don't want to answer. But what I'm finding is even in the government agencies, you see, because everyone's being negatively affected. It doesn't matter if you work for a government bureaucracy or not, you're being negatively impacted now. And even those people now are starting to ask questions. And they're starting to become more open about their concerns. And I always encourage people to talk to these people. Don't look at them as your enemy, okay? Look at them as just another man or woman. And we have to have these chats. So we're going to win this, no matter when. The more active we become, the quicker we're going to win it. So I'm going to, now that I'm hooked up with Andy, I'm going to try and drag him into the show here. And I don't know if this is what he wants to do today, but that's what I'm going to do anyways. I'm going to drag him in here and see if he wants to chat. Smart guy. See if we can get him in here.
No, it's got to do with.
See if we can hook up with him.
It's got to do with art.
Have I got you, Andrew? Let's give this a minute and see if we can catch up with him. If not, I'll catch up with him afterwards, and we'll do this on another day. I haven't talked to him for. We had a couple conversations. God, it's got to be like over a year ago, I think, or somewhere in there. And yeah, he's not going to pop in here, I don't think. Call failed. Okay. But I'll get a hold of him again because he's got some interesting stuff to say, and we'll deal with it later. Anyways, I need a new venue, you know. My venue on my days on Facebook appear to be quite numbered now. They keep putting me in jail for 7 days at a crack. And so out of a month, I'm only out of jail for max 4 days before they throw me back in. So that's not working well. I used to get, you know, I put a post up and kick it out on groups that I'm attached to. You know, I get 20, 40,000 views, which is okay. Now, as soon as I put something up, they take it down, and then I'll put it up on my personal one. Sometimes it stays, sometimes it goes down, and I pass it out to groups while I can, and then I find out it's been removed, not by the group, but by Big Brother. Now, you know, I send them notes on Facebook. You know, they say, look it. You know, I'm a member of these groups. Now, if the group doesn't want me posting in their group, they can remove me for the group, or they can send me a note. But Facebook takes it upon itself, keeps coming up. We think this post is spam, therefore we removed it. So, you know, they got their algorithms there that are just looking for words and whatnot. And, you know, I asked Facebook to send me a complete listing of all the words again that offends Facebook, because it's all about not offending anyone. And apparently Facebook is easily offended. Even though everything I post is 100% accurate, it can be verified 100%. But again, see, Facebook is basically running the same way as a lot of the stuff on the internet. Most of the stuff on the internet is set up as controlled opposition to bring in the fools. So you have this constant bitching and complaining going on about this party, that party, this man, this woman, but never getting to anything. So my posts tend to be somewhat deeper, and with documents and whatnot. And apparently, Facebook doesn't like that.
You back on?
Yeah, I forgot. I can't add you here. I have to drag you.
Stop
Drag you
pushing
by
buttons.
drag you by the toes into the show. So
Well, I'm offended. I'm offended for the apes, Ron.
you're offended?
Yes, because in evolution, some apes don't evolve as intellectually as other apes. So the apes we've left behind, we got to put a hashtag on for that.
I mean, what is this hashtag thing?
Well, you know, me too.
What is that?
It's to do with women being sexually harassed at job sites, I think.
Yeah, I know. Why can't you just say what's with the hashtag? I don't get that.
Well, that's
That's
what they do,
some. Is
right?
that
Black
some?
Lives Matter, Me Too, whatever. Makes it all interesting. But I mean, those poor apes that have been left behind, you know, we got to feel for them. So we need a hashtag to say apes, left back apes need to evolve too. That'll be a good hashtag. No?
What is the Black Lives Matter? So we got to have a hashtag Ape Lives Matter.
Yeah.
Stuff like that. So we need some protests. We need some protests in the street, right?
Yeah. Damn
You know,
straight.
because all of
they got
this.
the signs.
Yeah, we've totally ignored the ape, right?
They've been forgot. They've been left behind, and we need to bring them up.
Okay, I got Andy trying to call in here, so I'm going to have to hang up on him and drag him in. Okay, and then we'll talk about whatever.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Because I don't know why I can't drag. Here, I'll get him this way. There we go. I'll get him that way. I hope. But I haven't talked to him. He's been getting run over pretty bad up north. Have we got you, Andy?
We do.
We do. So everyone, this is Andy from up near Thunder Bay, Ontario, which apparently is like 30 plus below today, which is kind of nasty. So you could not have evolved from an ape, Andy, because, well, they don't like that weather. So we'll just call you a man. How's that? We got you? You there, Andy? I don't know what happened here. Oh, I lost him again. Anyways, we'll let that ride for a second. I'll try and bring him back in. We got you, Chris?
You do, my friend.
Yeah, so no, I never thought about it.
Ape Lives Matter.
Yeah, with a hashtag, whatever that thing is supposed to be. So, yeah, I mean, it's absolutely ludicrous what's going on. But like I was talking about in the first hour there, you know, when I was looking at this when I was growing up, and you can see how they start all of this stuff very quietly, and then they normalize it, and then it becomes mainstream. And I can't drag you in like that, my friend. So I'm going to have to decline that again. Because if I bring you in, I'm going to blow everything off the air. So I'm going to bring him in again. Tell him to hang in here. Have I got you, Andy? Oh, he's keep bouncing off of here. So I'm going to leave him a note. Anyways, Chris, talk to us.
Yeah.
I got to send Andy a note.
When did they start the evolution? The evolution theory, was that started like in the late 1800s or the early 1900s? I mean, it wasn't that long ago that this came about, right?
Mid 1800s.
Yeah. And then they started finding, in the 1900s, early 1900s, they started finding dinosaur bones all of a sudden.
Yeah.
And then they found a tooth originally, did they not? And that was the beginning of realizing that there was dinosaurs on Earth before man. So they used this one tooth to design a whole dinosaur in plaster cast or plastic or whatever they used at the time or whatever they're using now. And they decided on that one tooth that this is a Tyrannosaurus or a T-Rex, whatever the dinosaur at the time was. These very intelligent scientists knew on this one tooth that they found, this is what a dinosaur looks like. And it's just progressed from there like crazy, man.
Well, the whole point there, if you go back, I have a book, and the whole point of the evolution thing, which says very specifically, is that they could not move forward with ecology as long as God existed or was alive, so they had to kill God. That's these philosophers, Nevsky and those boys. So, and that came through the Catholic school, of which Nevsky went to, which was trying to figure out how to get rid of God. That's the Catholics again, the Vatican. And the whole idea of that was to kill God. So put the scientists in place of the priests to push the ecology or earth worship, okay? Because the priests were pushing creator worship, and they wanted you to worship the creator, or the earth, or the creation, not the creator. So that all took place exactly when evolution took off. And you're absolutely right. There was no such word. The word dinosaur did not exist till that time period, the mid-19th century. Okay, now there are all kinds of, in the Bible, there's all kinds of talking about dragons, and we still have the dragon boat races and that in China, but there was no such word as dinosaur. Nobody had ever found a dinosaur until they created the word dinosaur. Then dinosaurs were being dug up all over the place. And today even, in the media, you'll find every now and again, and a lot lately, is this new dinosaur, right? Well, how come you didn't trip over this thing before? And besides, how are you finding dinosaurs, period? Because when I went to school, the oil that was being pulled out of the ground was taught to me in school came from the rotting corpses of dinosaurs. So if the oil comes from rotting corpses of dinosaurs, how is it you're digging down 20 feet and running into a freaking dinosaur? I mean, give me a break. People are so incredibly not bright. It's a bugger. Now we're gonna try Andy one more time here. I think we got him this time. I apologize for the hookups, but for some reason I can't bring someone in. Just add them. Andy, we got you?
Yes, I'm here now, yeah.
Andy, we got Andy. And do you prefer Andy or Andrew?
Andre's fine.
Andre, yes, Andre, that's it. Andre, I got Chris on here with me, who's from Kingston, Ontario, who's been at this for quite a few years. He's got a son in school who we had on the show who described what the school's like now, which is pretty spooky. So Chris, meet Andre from Thunder Bay area, and
hi, Andre
from the Kingston area. So you've had some experiences up in the North Country that have been rather negative towards you and your family, and you've been studying this for some period of time, yeah? So if you want to discuss or just clue some of the listeners into some of the nonsense, I lost him again. What the hell's going on? Must be a Thunder Bay CIA operation up there, or CSIS operation, that we can't hang on to them. Anyways, we'll let that go, and I'll try and get him in here later next week or on the weekend. Anyways, Christopher.
Could he call in through the Revolution Radio phone line?
I don't think that's working.
Oh, okay.
I got to get a dedicated line. But no, we'll get. I'll talk to him later today, and we'll get him in, do a full show with him or something. Because some of the stuff, like I said, I haven't talked to him for a while, and it was taking me a while until he said he was from Thunder Bay. That's what clued me in. Very smart guy, and he has been really, really beat around pretty good. But he was discussing a recording that he's got from I think it was a court clerk, which people really have to hear what was in there, which I already know about. But that's what I'm saying. Like, some of these people are now starting to spill the beans. I think they're concerned, and I think a lot of if Andy's listening, I don't know why we keep losing you, but this is very important. Like, people hate cops, they hate the courts. I hate going to court. I hate being harassed by the cops, but I always look at it as an opportunity. It's a teaching opportunity, and it's important that we use those opportunities. And, you know, what I found when I'm talking to the Premier's office or the AG's office, which I've talked to numerous times, is you end up building some kind of a connection, and they start talking, you know. Like the lawyer from the AG's office. And you don't talk to those guys just by phoning in there and say, "Can I talk to a lawyer?" That don't work that way. But, you know, we had a really good conversation about legal and law. And he agrees 100%. Law and legal are not the same animal. And so Andy got some pretty interesting information out of, I think it was the court clerk's office, just to really put this into context. Of how tyrannical this really is. And they know, you know, and they're starting to talk about it more, because I think those people are actually concerned about their families and the future of their offspring. But they can't bite the hand that feeds them. They don't know how. And they're looking to people like Andy and me and you and other people who are out there working away at this. They're looking at us to help them. It may sound strange, but I do believe that's what's going on. I mean, when I ran in 2007 and that cop said that he would sign my candidacy papers because he believed in me to make this a better place and turn a better country. He wasn't fooling around about that. You know, he's concerned about his family's future, but he ain't prepared to bite the bullet. So he's not as strong. Okay, these people aren't as strong as we are. And they want us to win. Because if we win, they win. Okay, so this idea it's us against them is not quite correct. There's a very, very small group of people that we have to deal with. Most of the people who work in the bureaucracy, for the most part, don't have a clue. You know, they're completely ignorant. They're just going to work, do. No idea, don't want to know. But a lot of these other people, like in the AG's office, the Premier's office, I mean, I talked to this lady at the Premier's office, and she can get so candid, it's nuts. I mean, we have some really open conversations because she knows. Well, first of all, she knows I know, and I'm not whining and bitching and complaining. We're having really good chats. And being more and more open all the time about it. You know, when I had that conversation with the head of the my local or my county, whatever, real estate association, the head lady there, you know, I'd talked to her a few times, and when I'm explaining, you know, this abstract concept nonsense, this legal abstract concept, and about property and land and all that stuff, which doesn't mean what it, you know, it's just an abstract concept. hypnotizing us, suggesting to us that something is when it isn't, and we go with it. And, it was pretty candid on her part to agree that real estate is a fraud. And then she went on to say, but I doubt half of the realtors know it. So half of the realtors out there know they're completely involved in fraud, and the other half don't have a clue. But the fact of the matter is that the whole idea of real estate is a fraud. It's a legal fraud.
Well, it's like anything else, Ron. Talking with a veteran, a Canadian veteran, who has been on your show. We had a discussion last night about the current members of our military. And I know we drive dinghies with 22s in them, but there's some tough boys there. But my friend said that these boys that are currently in the military right now have no clue, and they will not understand. It's only the veterans. Once you go through it and you get out and you sit back and you think, then you start to wake up. He said, unfortunately, at this point, anybody that is a current member of our military, not anybody, but 99%, they have no clue. They have no clue.
But on the other token, I ran into a video, and I'd like to talk to Jason about that, because I didn't know anything about these guys, but they're out of Quebec, and they have some 40,000 members or whatever on their Facebook that's not available to the public somehow or another. But there was a bit of a news story on it, and most of these guys, or the leaders of this outfit out of Montreal, are veterans. And I need to hook up. I don't remember the name of it. It was late last night. I hope it's still up there. But they get it, and they were going to have a march or whatever somewhere in Quebec. I don't know, it was Montreal, Quebec, or wherever. And word got out that they were going to do this, and they had a whole slew of their people in a parking garage, and then they were going to leave the parking garage. Well, these Antifa or whatever people, Antifa people in that, Black Lives Matter and all that, caught hold that these guys are going to have a march, and they came in ahead of time. And these people were very bright, actually, because they just stayed in the parking garage, and all hell broke loose outside with Antifa and the Black Lives Matter and all that kind of stuff, and raising hell. Right, and showed that they were the problem, and the group of veterans and their people just stayed quiet in the garage, and when all the nonsense was over, then they came out, right, and even the reporters said this is a real victory for these people, right, but then turned around right away and started, trying to nail them as a problem. I got just a few minutes left here. I'm going to try this. I got Andre's phone number now, and I'm going to try and call him into the show. And see if I can do this. And just talk to him for a bit coming into the end of the show, and then we need to get him on for a full show. Let's see if we can't do this. Okay, this is what I need to do, I guess. Okay, now this is going to work. Now, I don't think I can add him to the group call that way. Where the hell is his phone number now? 832, where the hell is it? Okay, let's kill that. Where the hell did the number go? 632. Why isn't that freaking number in here?
Well, since you're running out of time, maybe you could just set it up with them to do a show with you.
Yeah, well, that's what we're going to do. I was just going to bring him in here, but this isn't. Oh, wait, let me. I still have him there. Okay, let me try this way. Six 635, is that it? Nope. I can't, his phone number in here, I can't dig it out for some reason. I have to have him in here. Now we're going to have to wait till, I'll call him later today and then we'll get this all set up correctly. Because I don't want to, I don't want to, oh, there it is. I don't want to, we only got, what do we got? Maybe 10 minutes left. So what I'm going to do, Andre, is we'll bring him in and do a full show. Because he's got a lot to say that people need to hear. He's been through a whole lot of research himself, and a lot of the stuff that he believed that was coming from these so-called truthers turned about to be wrong. And that's what I've been saying for ever. You know, they set up these controlled opposition groups, which, like Alex Jones is one, and there's a gazillion of those that were brought out after that, who will give you some truth, a lot of poison that you don't even notice, but they're set up in such a way so that they're designed to speak about things that you want to hear about, okay? And you still haven't done any research. So it's the lazy man's trap kind of thing. So you hear somebody online somewhere speaking what you want to speak or what you want to hear about, be it you're against windmills or LGBTQ or Black Lives Matter, or a political show. These are all designed to entrap you into a thing that you think is on your side when it's there just to entrap you. So many people have been through that, and one thing I'm really proud of the people generally is more and more of them are catching on to that game now, and not getting conned into being suckered like they were so badly for so long. So that's we just got to keep doing what we're doing, and the more people like this Doug Ford thing going on in Toronto right now with the Conservative Party looking for a new leader. You know, I got some notes last night, going, well, do you think this, Doug Ford's the guy, right? The Ford Nation. I said, no, because you have the Ford Nation going like, this is our Trump. Well, Trump's a player. I mean, there's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. So, I mean, wait a minute, this is your Ford Nation, and you want Ford because you think he's like Trump. Well, to say you think he's like Trump is to say you want to hire another player. It doesn't jive. So either the people who are pushing these rallies and that know exactly what they're up to, or they don't.
It's a dead giveaway. I don't know about provincial leaders, but I know federal leaders. It's a dead giveaway when you see them at the Wailing Wall with a cap on their head.
I know, eh? I know. Like, how hard is this, people? How hard? I mean, come on. You got your conservative at the Wailing Wall with his little beanie hat on, and you got the liberal at the Wailing Wall with his little beanie hat on. Do you see a difference? I don't see a difference, right? Let's get Mikey to try it, right? Maybe that's who we need to hire, Mikey. You know, the old kid in the commercials. Way back when. You taste it. No, you taste it. Well, let's get Mikey to taste it, right? Maybe we need Mikey as the prime minister of the country. I don't know. But I don't know why it's so difficult for people to understand. I mean, I put out documents all the time, right? Okay.
You know what I read there? Well, it's on the news now, but I think I first read it yesterday. I believe it's Brian Mulrooney's daughter is now running for political office.
Yeah.
Who the hell is she?
Well, whoever heard it? Well, you never heard of it, Mulrooney's daughter. Whoever heard of Justin Trudeau? Right? I mean, this is the what did they used to call that? The family compact.
Yeah.
Right? You know, it's a family compact, and it's just ridiculous. You know, like I was getting a whole bunch of flack. I put in. I found that thing about the 85th birthday of Morris Strong, and we have it was put on by the ex-governor general who was Chinese born. How do we end up with a Chinese-born attorney general? No, we have the space cadet who's the attorney general, or the governor general, rather, excuse me. And so all this group of people celebrating Morris's 85th birthday. Well, there we have Bob Ray. So I put the story in and put some connections together with all these people, and I just mentioned that Bob Ray is a Jew. Well, Jesus, I'm getting jumped on all over the place, right? And so then I went and found a story in Maclean's that explained that his father, Saul, who was a politician, right, in global affairs and that, didn't want to be outed. So he took his family aside because it looked like Pierre Trudeau was getting ready to marry Saul Ray's daughter. And so Saul brings the family together and says, you know, we're not really Anglicans and we're not really Rays. We're actually Cohens, right? So I thought people should know about this. Wow, geez, just jumping all over me, right? Where the hell? Oh yeah. So, anyways, I already looked at Bob Ray, or Bob Cohen, and he was at the I don't know what it's called. I can't remember the name. It was a school at Oxford, anyways. Totally Marxist school, which is where his father went, where Christopher Hitchens went, where some of the biggest Marxists went. The head guy at the school for the longest time was an absolute Marxist, teaching Marxism. And these are the people that are running your government. And you can't say anything about them, right? Which is weird to me, because normally where I come from, you give somebody some real information, they should say, Jesus, I didn't know that. Although I did have a couple of people say that. One lady says, holy crap, you got a deep knowledge, right? I'm so glad, because she was jacking on me about bitching about mentioning that Ray was a Jew. And when I laid the stuff in front of her, she goes, I never knew that. You've got a really deep knowledge. Like, I am so happy to run into you, right? Okay, well, that's fine. But it's just about reading. It's just about asking questions. I mean, it's not, I don't know what you got to do. And I know people are busy, but you got to read some stuff, folks. You know? You can't come home and turn on the TV and sit in front of that thing till you go to bed. You can't do that. Now, if you go back to one of the best shows that was ever produced in this country, which I can, what was that show Candy was in, Artie? SCTV. Now, the beginning of that show, they're showing a high-rise. This was filmed in Edmonton, Alberta, I believe. At the beginning of the show, the intro to the show, they're pitching TVs out the windows. And that's exactly what you need to do. Pitch the damn thing out the window. Have some kind of a religious ceremony, right? You know, build a pyre or something and, you know, burn the damn thing or whatever. Film it, put it on YouTube, right? You know, because as long as you're sitting there in front of that TV, You're being hypnotized. Okay? And they got you running around like a freaking chicken. You know? We suggest you join Black Lives Matter. And now you got all these chickens running around and Black Lives Matter. LGBTQ. You got all these chickens running around being LGBTQ. And so on and so forth. You got to stop that shit. And you know and I know, Chris, everything that they're doing is written down. It's that simple. Read it. But remind me to go and find that thing about those vets in Quebec, because it's, you know, they got 40-some thousand people. And I don't know that Jason knows about that. I would like him to look into it and hook up with some of these guys.
I believe he's familiar.
Huh?
I believe he's familiar with them. He's known with them.
Because I'd like to have a discussion either with them, or I'll have to go figure out who they are, what they're up to, and all this kind of stuff, because you can't really tell a book by its cover. So
question everything.
So that means we're out of here. Thanks, Chris.
Radio for intelligent people. UCY.TV.
Okay, we're out of time. We're gone. Take care, everybody.